Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hatch Blue Idemitsu Blue Carbon Innovation Studio webinar. You're very welcome wherever you are in the world. And we're talking today about the upcoming program that we're delivering in Singapore from the 11th to the 22nd of November, and our search for 8 to 10 companies from around the world that are specializing in this sector. I'm hoping that over the next 45 minutes, we're going to cover off why we're doing this, what's important about the blue carbon space, and why companies like Idemitsu and Hatch are interesting in supporting and finding and developing the future technologies in the sector. The program itself that we're going to be delivering in Singapore later in the year is really to nurture and develop those technologies and those businesses that are looking to make an impact in this space. So this is our, bear with me. This is our agenda for the next 35 to 45 minutes. I'm going to give you a quick introduction to Hatch and what the kind of work that we do generally within this sector. I'd like to welcome both our guests, Peter Green and Yamato Adachi from Idemitsu. And they're going to talk about their thoughts on the sector, but also the work ahead in relation to the Innovation Studio. We're going to talk in a little bit more in depth in terms of what's on offer, what happens in these studios, why should you join, the kind of benefit perhaps to your business. And then we're going to wrap it up with a Q&A, and hopefully all of your questions will be answered. Feel free to type in any questions in the chat. And we've also had some questions in advance of this studio, which we'll cover off at that point in time. So without further ado, I'll just give a quick introduction to myself before I reach Peter here. I'm one of the founders of Hatch. We've been exploring the supporting of innovative technologies in the aquaculture world for the last 7 years. Over those 7 years, we've delivered 5 accelerator programs where we invest in companies, and we've invested in over 50 companies to date. In a couple of weeks, our 6th program, our CREST program, will be kicking off in Hawaii, where we're welcoming 6 more global aquaculture companies. And more of those investments that we're making and projects and studios that we're delivering are involving seaweed and exposure to the blue carbon space. So it's very much on trend. And I'm really pleased to see for the first time that we're going to have a sector specific innovation studio focused on supporting those working in blue carbon, and surrounding them hopefully with the kind of expertise that can really fill the gaps in their businesses, but also connect them with a network that can really enhance their development. And you know, we're always very tuned in to trying to get more impactful technologies to market, and that takes a lot of work, a lot of network, a lot of know-how. So we're hoping to be able to supply some of that later in the year. So over maybe just introducing Peter. I will admit, guys, for Peter and I, this is 4 a.m. in the morning. So we're incredibly dedicated to the cause. But, you know, if we're not stringing words together as fluently as we do normally, it's because of this very early hour. But we're really pleased to be here. So, Peter, maybe if you can give yourself a quick introduction and, you know, your thoughts on this session today.
Yeah, super. I'm looking forward to looking back at the recording and looking at myself stumbling back over my words. But so my name is Peter Green. I'm a project manager at Hatch Innovation Services, which is the consultancy side of Hatch Blue. My background's in algae biotech. So now I spend a lot of time supporting startups and enabling technologies involved in scaling natural capital and nature-based solutions with a particular focus on seaweed, microalgae-based solutions, as well as blue carbon now. One of my most recent projects in this space was working with Yamato and the brilliant Idemitsu team on the Japanese blue carbon space and its evolving ecosystem. And I know Yamato is going to be diving into that in a moment. So we're really excited about Japan and its blue carbon developments. So we've been unlocking and revealing a lot of novel financing insights and mechanisms, as well as that some deep dives into that evolving blue carbon network. So really exciting time right now for blue carbon, particularly in the Asian region. And so I'm looking forward to working with you guys and exploring blue carbon in a bit more detail today.
Great, Peter. Thank you. And then coming up next, maybe from my perspective, just from our relationship with Idemitsu, we're very proud and privileged to be working with a company that shares our thoughts and ambitions around the sector. We've been talking to Yamato and Kei and his colleagues for probably about 18 months now, or maybe even more, about delivering a program specific to this particular challenge in the space. And we've had many conversations, and our Hatch Innovation Services has done some specific deep dive into the sector to get everybody informed and really understand, how we can all reach that elusive net zero at some point in the future. And I think as a company, Idemitsu are really striving to that, and they've got really significant ambitions to be net zero by the year 2050. But in terms of, we're really happy to see companies like Idemitsu joining this sector, which we've been operating in for the last 7 years. The opportunity in terms of reducing climate risk and supporting more and more technologies, because for us at least, how we're going to change things is through technology, and it's through innovation. And the work that we do at Hatch, I guess, and Idemitsu share this, is getting to those smart guys and girls out there that have these amazing ideas and helping them build viable, successful, sustainable businesses that can bring these technologies to market and hopefully have the impact that we're all hoping that they will have. So really pleased to have this collaboration effort. We've been planning this and working on this for quite some time. And we're very excited to see the kind of applications from companies all around the world and what they're working in and working on. And then for us then to see how we can combine all the network and knowledge and expertise that we have within Hatch and within Idemitsu and within the supporting players in our network that will help have those important conversations in November, where we can hopefully take your business to the next level, and of course expose you to potential investors and so forth. So really pleased that Idemitsu are driving this initiative and supporting us in delivering this program. I'm really proud to pass this over to Yamato and to give his perspective and Idemitsu's perspective on why we're doing this and why it's so important. Yamato, over to you.
Sure, thank you. So hi, my name is Yamato Adachi from Idemitsu, and today, I am honored to speak about exciting blue carbon innovation studio. So in this presentation, I would like to discuss Idemitsu's journey and our collaboration with Hatch and what we have decided to open this innovation studio in Singapore. So as explained earlier, blue carbon is a promising avenue to combat climate change. So within this presentation, I won't delve too deeply about the details of blue carbon, but I would like to highlight about a few key points about evolving landscape of blue carbon and then its significance to our company. So to start with, Idemitsu, about Idemitsu, the company that I am working for. Idemitsu is one of Japan's leading energy companies. So with over a century history, our roots lie deeply in the petroleum businesses. So making us essentially an oil company. But in recent years, we have expanded into renewable businesses, including solar, wind, and EVs as well. And in addition to this, we are committed to reducing carbon footprint by 46% by 2030 and achieving carbon neutrality by 2050, which aligns with the Japanese government's goal. So therefore, promoting blue carbon initiatives for us is a crucial element in meeting these commitments. Next slide, please. So as previously mentioned, to meet goals for 2030 and 2050, we need negative emission technologies or carbon dioxide removal, often abbreviated as CDR, which obviously includes blue carbon as well. There are challenges with both nature and technology-based solutions of CDR, but it is crucial to combine and utilize these technologies considering on regional characteristics as well as economic feasibility as well. So therefore, Idemitsu has decided to pursue blue carbon opportunities as one of the renewable technologies, as it is evident that promoting blue carbon can be advantageous in Japan, considering our country is surrounded by sea and our facilities or assets, such as like refineries, are located adjacent to coastal lines. Next slide, please. So why blue carbon? I would like to highlight some other advantages of blue carbon of this slide. Most importantly, I'll say the potential it holds. The potential for carbon sequestration by blue carbon is significant. I won't touch too deeply about details, as Peter knows far better than myself, but according to McKinsey, blue carbon could potentially abate approximately 0.4 to 1.2 gigatons of carbon dioxide annually by 2050. And for Japan and most of the countries in Southeast Asia, with long coastal line and extensive exclusive economic zones, I think blue carbon can be said that it is important resource to meet government pledge to reduce emissions. So why blue carbon for Japan? If you see the chart on the right, so the government of Japan, first of all, has pledged to reduce emissions by almost half by 2030. But as you can see from the chart or graph on the right side, the carbon removal potential of forests in Japan, which is currently the largest carbon removal source, has been declining over the last 2 decades. And it previously removed about 85 million tons of carbon in 2014, but it is estimated to decrease to 38 million tons by 2030. So blue carbon is therefore considered an important resource for Japan to promote such initiatives, as we are surrounded by sea and once again have one of the longest coastal lines and largest economic exclusive zones in the world. Next slide, please. So for Idemitsu to start blue carbon initiatives, we have decided to, first of all, invest in venture capital. Blue carbon isn't immediately adjacent to what we do or our core businesses. So we feel it is crucial to explore the ecosystems that venture capital offers, alongside the knowledge and expertise, as well as the networking opportunities. So in this sense, we came across Hatch Blue, and it was a perfect fit for us, given its extensive global presence and primary focus on investing in high-growth startups in aquaculture and blue carbon sectors. And with Hutch investment, if you can see on the left side, we have invested into Blue Revolution Fund last year to pursue promising carbon absorption solutions with blue carbon ecosystems. And through Hutch Innovation Services in the middle, which Peter is affiliated to, we have conducted joint studies to explore the potential of Japanese market in blue carbon utilization. And lastly, on the right side, with Hutch programs, which Wayne is leading, we have decided to launch a unique blue carbon initiative this time to attract startups and scale-ups with technologies like the people we're attending today and who are capable of sequestrating carbon. Next slide, please. So I'd like to, last of all, touch base quickly about blue carbon initiatives in Japan. So in Japan, both governmental and corporate levels are leading blue carbon initiatives, but there aren't many startups focused on blue carbon in Japan. The Japan Blue Economy Association, the JBE, which is a government-endorsed organization, operates a carbon credit scheme with 61 registered projects so far. The price of credits is set to be around $478 per tonnage, which is significantly higher than the current price of voluntary carbon credits. and many well-known companies like Toyota, 7-Eleven are participating in this scheme. So yeah, it's a promising avenue for Japan. But please note that these numbers and figures I mentioned are approximation and may not be up to date. Next slide, please. So yeah, thank you so much for your interest in our unique program today. We look forward to seeing you in Singapore. I would like to conclude by saying that while the potential of blue carbon is promising, there are challenges, but therefore we seek applicants like yours who can bring innovative solutions to overcome these challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Yamato. And again, we're really kind of excited to be working with a company, and we need more and more companies like Idemitsu to look at this sector and look at these climate challenges, but not only kind of talk about it, but actually do something about it. And by investing in our fund, but also supporting, actually practically looking to support startup companies in this sector and try and get their technologies mature enough to get to market, I think is going that one step further, and we need more and more, see more and more of that. So awesome to be working with you guys, and I'm excited to see what happens over the next couple of months and the kind of companies that we ultimately select for the studio in November. Next we kind of move over to Peter Green. I had the privilege of sitting in a session a couple of months back when Peter talked about seaweed. And the opportunities with seaweed, and this is an area I think that Hatch has certainly been very interested in. We've invested funds into companies that are working in this sector. Our last accelerator, almost 50% of the cohort were seaweed related in somehow. And I'm delighted that he's here today, maybe to talk about his thoughts on blue carbon, the opportunity, the challenges, and really just to share his kind of perspective on the path ahead. So Peter, great to have you here at 4:15 in the morning, and it's over to you.
Thanks very much, Wayne, and thanks Yamato for a lovely speech about Idemitsu and your work in blue carbon. So, I mean, where do we start with challenges and pain points and opportunity areas in blue carbon? I think during our work in this space, it's been clear that there are some recurring pain points that we feel need addressing in particular. So these might be, for example, bringing down the costs of monitoring BCEs. This is a challenge area, particularly in parts of the world like Japan, where drone usage is still quite expensive for monitoring blue carbon ecosystems. And so we'd love to see a little bit more innovation in that area, supporting teams on the ground with setting up projects that are monitoring blue carbon environments. We're also keen on innovative business models that can compensate for the cost credit revenue deficit. So what we're seeing at the moment is obviously the price of carbon for blue carbon credits is not really covering much of the costs of actually restoring or protecting ecosystems. So is there an innovative solution that supports co-location of, say, aquaculture within a blue carbon ecosystem that can support the community long-term beyond the blue carbon project? Is always very intriguing to us and much more sustainable in the long term, we feel. Because carbon credits aren't necessarily going to cover much for the local community after the implementers come and gone. Then we have MRV research, obviously still lots of questions for MRV, particularly in deeper ocean environments, whether it be seagrass, kelp, seaweed. And so we really want to see more research and innovation in the MRV part of this value chain, because we do recognize that there's still a lot of unmet needs and questions around carbon fluxes in deeper ocean environments. Beyond that, scalability is a really important question, particularly when we're talking about seaweed compared to other solutions. What's a scalable solution? What's not necessarily a scalable solution? And so basically, this has led us to come up with a series of innovation areas that we think that are going to be important for this accelerator, but also for the future. So this might be solutions that are working specifically on direct ocean capture, direct carbon sequestration or reduction. That might be a seaweed solution that's mitigating, like a biostimulant solution or a methane reduction supplement solution, or a much more of a direct sequestration play. Otherwise, we're looking for teams that are developing technologies that have shown more encouraging signs of scalability and carbon capture effectiveness. And that's where we think direct ocean capture is particularly interesting from our analysis in the past couple of months. Beyond that, monitoring, reporting, verification technologies are really important for developing more integrity around carbon calculations so that we can support the carbon markets a little bit more, support investors when they're purchasing offtake agreements. And then finally, the other point is on financing solutions and accounting solutions. So that might be supporting organizations with quantifying their greenhouse gas emissions and aligning and setting goals for their emissions, or a financing solution that's going to support with that price point sort of difference between the price of the credit and how can we bring the price of the credit up to encompass more like a biodiversity or a nutrient credit solution, for example. So we could cover more of the costs for the project developer, and that's where Yamato is obviously. We've already mentioned the price point of Japanese blue carbon, and that's something we're really interested in, is those innovative solutions around price points that can support blue carbon projects. So in our experience, we've seen teams developing solutions in these spaces struggle, particularly with, let's say, developing relationships on the ground, developing a network to acquire permits, or developing a relationship with the local community, who are obviously the stakeholders, the owners of the ocean in some of these areas of the world. And in order to do that, you have to develop a close relationship with the community, and that's not always easy. And that's where we think Hatch is really going to be able to support you guys with your projects, because we have experience doing this type of thing. We have a large network of investors in our network that can support with validating your technologies, supporting with securing offtake agreements is another challenge area, and pre-purchase agreements for your carbon projects. And so there is just some of the areas that we think that we can make a difference, as well as communicating your solution clearly to the market is another challenge area that we think is going to be important for us to support you on in this accelerator. So that's just a brief overview of opportunity, of challenges, as well as where we think we're a good fit for projects in this space. And would be great to discuss in a bit more detail in a moment. Over to you, Wayne.
Yeah, great, Peter. As you can see, there's lots to consider. And I think I'll move on to the program itself and what it entails. But these kind of conversations that, and topics that both Yamato and Peter are mentioning, I know you guys, wherever you are in the world, in your own little bubble, are also experiencing this. So I think what's very unique about this innovation studio, this Blue Carbon Innovation Studio, is that we're going to be able to have those conversations in it and, go through them in a very constructive way with a view to pushing through, hopefully to the other side where, Peter mentioned one very important piece around, how are you going to articulate your proposition, your value proposition to the market and to potential investors and potential customers, I think is certainly a very important part of what we hope to achieve throughout the program. So I'll move directly onto that, the Blue Carbon Innovation Studio. As you can see, this is going to kick off on the 11th of November to the 22nd of November later this year. From an innovation studio perspective, what is that? I guess this is some people have called it a mini MBA in building a business in this sector. It's 2 very intense weeks where we really dig a little deep into your business, how you're developing it, what the opportunity is. Will help across a number of different areas, but really for Hatch and in terms of all the programs that we run. It doesn't really matter what your technology is or what sector you're focusing on. Fundamentally, what you're doing is building a business and enabling that to be sustainable and viable and profitable, ideally, is a key part of getting your technology to market. Because if you don't focus on those key fundamentals and have good cash flow, have an investment runway to develop and expand your opportunity, your company's going to die, and that's where most startups struggle. So we're hoping. Well, we have in fact run many of these around the world. I think this innovation studio in Singapore is going to be number 15, I think it is. So there's over 150 companies and projects that have gone through this process. And many of them have gone on to do great things, raise money, expand their network, and grow. Many have failed, which is the space we're in. That's the chance. That's the entrepreneurial journey. But what we're hoping to do in the context of blue carbon is, bring the kind of expertise where we can maybe add more eyes, more hands, and more thoughts and opinions, and advice and counsel to your journey to give your business the best possible chance of success. So a little bit more about what we're doing. The Innovation Studio. This is a world's first, certainly for us and for Idemitsu, where we're combining a corporate innovation studio specifically focused on one niche sector within a niche sector. And this is a first of a kind for early stage projects. What kind of companies are we expecting? What kind of applicants are we looking for? Well, it's not a piece of research. Ideally, it's not someone with an idea in their head. You need to be a lot further along the development cycle. We need to have an MVP potentially, or you need to have been working on this business for some time that it's starting to make sense. And in a sense, you're looking to take the next step in terms of scaling it. There will be, from our side of things, we've had many different types of focus in terms of these studios. They've been general aquaculture focused programs, and aquatech type companies that have been involved. But we've managed to attract funders from all walks of life in terms of NGOs and governments and obviously corporates, because they see this initiative as a way to get close to these innovators, and that's really important for government agencies, and particularly for Singapore, where we've been operating for many years now, almost since the beginning of Hatch. Building that ecosystem, that innovative ecosystem of technologies in this particular sector, which I know is very important to the region. But in this instance, attracting talent from all around the world that have applications that can be relevant and are relevant for Southeast Asia and the Japan region. This is what we're looking for. And this innovation studio, we know it works. We know it provides value. The feedback surveys that we've done on all these innovation studios and programs that we run are very positive from those who have partaken and been part of it. They find it super helpful in terms of getting their business on track, or really pointing out challenges that they need to address and gaps in their business. But it also, as Peter alluded to it opens up that network, and there are going to be a lot of like-minded people who have a specific interest in this sector, including investors, including corporates, including potential customers. And we're hoping to create that, special space where you as companies can grow and scale and learn, and hopefully take your business to the next level. So these studio formats are certainly providing a space for those kind of conversations to take place and those learnings to be achieved, I hope. Previous companies that have gone through our programs, and I can talk all day about how wonderful Hatch is or not, but the proof of the pudding for me is the companies that have taken part in many of our programs. And here's three particular examples. Jala, who are based in Indonesia. As you can see here, they're working on a climate smart shrimp fund program to sustainably improve farm productivity while restoring mangroves. They're a company that has grown from 2 founders or 3 founders to now over 150 people based in Indonesia, and they're doing amazing work in this specific sector. Symbrosia in Hawaii, again, one of our first investments back to 2019. They're producing Aspergillus taxiformis and extracting the wonderful properties from that species to reduce methane in cattle. And they've grown to, I think, about 50 people now and have raised quite a significant amount of money to date. And then Brilliant Planet, a UK-based company based also in Morocco, producing algae and converting that into stable biomass. These are three really interesting companies that have been through our programs, and they have their testimonials a little later. But I think when they started the program, there were a lot of unanswered questions for them. I'm not saying that this program is going to provide all the answers for you, but it will certainly provoke a lot of thinking, and your approach, your technology, and what your market looks like, and how you're going to get to that market, and build a viable business going forward. But I mean, if you're sitting out there and wondering, should you join this program and why should you join? These are three key areas that I think that would be part and parcel of the 2 weeks that you're going to spend in Singapore. We're going to look to develop your business strategy and skills. We're going to look to really look at your core product and how you can market that. We'll be looking at the team, evaluate the team and the gaps that are missing. You need all sorts of different types of characteristics in building a successful startup. And over the last 7 years, from a Hatch perspective, and way past that in terms of myself, in terms of being involved in the startup world, the team is something that is the one that's going to ultimately provide the results, and drive the business forward, to implement and deliver the technologies to the market and have the impact that we all want. It'll certainly develop your network and expose you to maybe some entities that heretofore you may not have been able to access. It will provide you with a platform that will provide you with more exposure to the market, exposure to investors. And of course, like any business, if you can't talk and articulate your proposition in a way that brings people with you, you may be left on the seaweed heap, because being able to pitch your business in a way that attracts investors, attracts customers, is a very important part of any startup journey. And we'll certainly be looking to develop those skills for you. On the validation side of it, of course, it's a very short period of time, but we'll be looking to really dig deep, along with our network and experts that we'll have, dropping into the program to look at, validating those scientific principles, looking at that market opportunity. As Peter mentioned, Hatch Innovation Services has done a tremendous amount of work in the blue carbon space, looking at the market, the opportunity, the challenges. So we've got a lot of insight there that we can share. Looking at how you're going to sell your business, what's your model, how you're going to get your pricing right, to make it a viable, successful business is also a key learning and hopefully a outcome from the process. And of course, attaining that magical product market fit is elusive to many companies, but we'll look to work on seeing how we can support you in that regard. And then of course, the learning. Every program that we run, we don't have the answers to everything. We learn by engaging the many innovators and entrepreneurs that are bringing technologies to market. We've had the privilege of working with many, and we've taken a lot of learnings from those conversations, and hopefully we can impart those in terms of our very special conversation between the 11th and the 22nd. But it's about learning how to navigate that industry landscape. This is a very niche area. It's new, it's novel, and finding more and more data about how you can attack this market, and what this landscape looks like and what the competition looks like, is also something of real value for any startup business. Looking at how to make money, folks, and that's ultimately what's going to enable your technology to get to market. If you don't have a sustainable, viable, profitable business, and no matter how amazing your technology is, it's not going to have the impact that we all hope it will, and it's not going to get to market. So, how your business is going to make money and what that model looks like is going to be a key part of the discovery process. Looking at presentation skills, how to present, as I mentioned earlier, how you talk about your business and get people excited about your business is also a really key part of the conversation that we're going to be having. And then, it's as the old saying goes, it takes a village to rear a child. It also takes a whole network to support early stage companies and startups to get to the stage where they start to make sense and they start to get traction. So I'm hoping within our network and the mentors and industry stakeholders and investors that you're going to be engaging throughout that period in Singapore will bring you to the next level and certainly have the kind of conversations that you're looking for. So who are we looking for? It's really those talented entrepreneurs and innovators seeking opportunities in the industry. And you've got a blue carbon technology that's applicable to the sector and particularly the Southeast Asia region and Japan. We don't really mind where in the world you are. Ideally, probably most of the companies may be within the Southeast Asia region, but as long as you have a technology that can be applicable to that market and will bring value to that market, we want to hear from you and we want to talk to you. We want to hear from startups and scale-ups. You may be a business that's already in revenue, you've already got customers, but you're looking to open up your market further. You're looking to network more. You're looking to maybe find potential investors, but you're really looking to be part of a community that can help your business fulfill its full potential in the long run. We're also looking for later stage companies seeking to increase market and industry access. Interestingly, more and more our programs are attracting companies from outside aquaculture and outside the blue space. And they have technologies that are applicable to this particular sector. So if you're a company that's looking to find out more about the blue carbon space, you're looking to understand what the landscape of market opportunity is, and you're looking to network with companies and investors in the region, in that particular region, we want to hear from you also. And ideally, as I said earlier in the conversation, we ideally want a proof of concept required, an MVP already there, and you're working on that. If the idea is just in your head, unfortunately, you need to work a little bit more in getting that idea on paper and start making it into an MVP at some point. In terms of the areas that we're looking for, what kind of solutions we're looking at, Peter mentioned it in his piece. We're looking at carbon sequestration and or reduction technologies. We're looking at direct open capture, MRV technologies, and also carbon accounting and financial solutions. All those startups and scale-ups working in those particular areas, we want to hear from you. And then in terms of that geographical focus, as I said, these solutions that you're building, wherever you are, should be able to be deployed in Japan, Southeast Asia, and the greater Pacific region, and including the west coast of the US. So that's what we're looking for. I mentioned who we're looking for, and then I mentioned those couple of companies earlier, and coming down to it, I can say why you should join. I can tell you what we're going to do, but the all important impact that these kind of initiatives have had on previous companies, I think, is really relevant for you as a busy entrepreneur and as a busy startup where your most valuable asset is your time. Testimonials from Alexia from Symbrosia when she joined our program back in 2019, and she thought that we bring the right people in terms of customers and partners that could help you bring your product to market. And we were the ones that could help in that specific area, because Hatch is very much a niche investor where, have developed expertise in this niche space of aquaculture and the blue economy. So the kind of people that you'll be talking to throughout the program will be specifically talking about blue carbon and the opportunities there. Lyra is the CEO of Jala, looking back, and that's a long time now since she joined the program, but she felt that it led to exponential growth in her business. We helped her transform the business in terms of figuring out the mentors, the business model, the marketing, and the technology use. And, I'm really pleased to see that both of those companies have gone on to really progress and build viable, successful businesses today. The program itself, being very specific, it's going to be limited to 10 teams. Typically, there's great demand for slots on these programs, and we have an evaluation process where we're going to pick or select the 10, what we feel is the 10 best companies in terms of where they're at, but also those companies where we feel we can add the most value. It's 2 weeks, Monday to Friday, in Singapore, where we're going to, have a schedule of engagements with mentors, investors, and the Hatch team in terms of really looking into your business. And it is really a really productive space for you to ask the kind of questions maybe that you have unanswered. You'll have an opportunity to pitch and get some investor guidance. We will have investors coming in and out over the course of the 2 weeks. There's no cost to you for the program. Thankfully, Idemitsu have funded the cost of this program. We won't be taking any equity in this. So for those of you who are looking for a real opportunity to, dip your toe into a space where you can maybe meet the kind of people that are going to take your business to the next level. We're just looking to support those talented people and talented companies that have great technologies, which we feel will have an impact in this sector. And that's why we don't want any financial impedance in your getting to Singapore. Thankfully, Idemitsu are also very kind to fund the support for the time that people are going to be there in terms of cost support with flights, accommodation, and food. Singapore is an expensive city, but we're trying to remove those impediments that may get those amazing companies to Singapore. We don't want funding to get in the way of you not getting there. So we're trying to, really do as much as we can to support the best companies to get to Singapore to partake in what we will hopefully will be a very productive 2 weeks. And of course, it exposes you to the wider blue carbon network in Singapore. Singapore certainly is a hotbed for this particular space. And we're hoping to expose you more and more to that network out there if you're not already connected. The closing date for this program, folks, is the 30th of August. We'll show you in a second the application link. And we'll then over the next couple of months be selecting those companies, and that selection process is the most important. We want to get the best companies, the companies with the most opportunity and progress to date, so that we can have the impact hopefully that we're all hoping for. So that's basically it on the presentation. Maybe if we can move into some questions maybe that people have, or maybe some comments. I mean, from Yamato and Peter, your thoughts maybe, Peter, around the kind of conversations or expertise you have in terms of engaging companies in the blue carbon space. What you found maybe is a common type of challenge that they have that maybe this initiative or the studio can unlock or help them progress. If you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the areas that, there's a few areas that come to mind, but certainly from a sort of enabling technology point of view, that ground truthing point of view, like how are these guys going to come in and test their kit in an area where there isn't necessarily great access to the local community. The local community is not going to be super engaged with outsiders. So how do they bridge that gap and work together with the community to test their kit and their technology? So that's definitely an area that we've highlighted is engagement with the local community is one of the unlocking steps for blue carbon. It's also one of the most sustainable ways to develop projects in this space. And so working on that communication piece, on that relationship management piece, is something that we're really keen to support with. And I'm sure Yamato also, with his experience in looking at Japan and blue carbon in Japan, would agree that it's the same in Japan, right, Yamato? That it's engaging with that fisher folk, the permitting process. So very interesting that challenge area.
Sure, yeah, definitely. I second to what Peter has mentioned, and it's very important to take care of our stakeholders, including fisheries association community there as well. And yeah, maybe I can put context into like my experience working with Hutch as well. I certainly enjoy working with Hutch over joint studies that we have done with Peter alongside his team. And I always truly admire and respect the dedication and effort of the teams. So I highly recommend working with Hutch Blue and apply for this program.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of questions coming in here. Okay. Thanks for a great presentation, guys. You mentioned previous studios. Are you comfortable with teams or individuals who are previous participants coming back, potentially with a new idea or improvement on a previous one? Well, if there's a testament to the value maybe they got from a program, there it is that they want to come back again. Look, we're looking for all sorts of applicants. You know, previous companies change, they fail, they move on, or they pivot in different directions. You know, as I said from the outset, we're looking for, you know, talent that is developing technologies in this sector that can be hopefully a game changer for the industry. Whether you've been on a program previously or you're new to Hatch and Idemitsu on this kind of initiative, we don't really mind. We just want the best and brightest talent to join us in Singapore. So feel free to apply. Every application will be treated on its own merit and evaluated by our team to, you know, for final selection. Great to see Fred joining in here. Thanks all. Great to see Idemitsu sponsoring this program at such a significant time for the sector. Question related to the emerging markets report. We've seen a degree of quite right scrutiny around the whole seaweed ecosystem, but particularly the tropical seaweed sector with respect to carbon impact. Could you elaborate on your interest here, Yamato?
Sorry, maybe Peter, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I think
Peter, yeah,
I think
whichever, yeah.
I can take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think great to see you, Fred. Good question as always. I was expecting a
Yeah.
question for you today, Fred. I think I mean, it's an interesting point, right, around carbon and seaweed. And so we do note that there's still not necessarily enough science to support carbon sequestration directly from seaweed farming, just underneath the farm in the sediments, for example. So where our main interest, I think, as mentioned already, even in Indonesia or Philippines, is on if they are to develop solutions, is it going to be a mitigation solution that can support with reducing carbon emissions across supply chains? And I think so that might be a biostimulant or a methane reduction supplement, but we don't necessarily want to promote areas that are not necessarily backed enough by the science right now. So whether it is a direct sinking play or a carbon directed from seaweed under the farm, I don't think we're confident enough at this stage to really back teams in that space. And everything we do at Hatch and even Idemitsu is to support sustainable seaweed or aquaculture in general, low trophic aquaculture. So we do want to see scale up of sustainable regenerative systems. And so it's a very good question, and I think, as I mentioned, those avoidance plays will be the priority for us, I think, in a seaweed perspective.
But definitely, I'll just say that in terms of the interest, we do as Idemitsu, we have a presence in both Philippines and Indonesia, alongside different countries in Southeast Asia. So we are definitely interested in looking at the companies, applicants from these regions, and understand that the market is there's large potential in Southeast Asian market as well. So yeah, definitely, we look forward to seeing companies from Southeast Asia, including Indonesia and Philippines.
Yeah, lots of companies in that region that we've come across already. So excited to see what kind of applications we get from Southeast Asia. There's another question here. I guess it's a very early stage question. I have a question about startup innovation. I want to start a business in making plastic from seaweed. Could you please tell me what you think about it? What are the steps to take? Do we need to have a formula to launch a startup, or can I do research to develop my formula? Is there any funding available in the USA? Lots of answers to those questions.
Sure.
But I think obviously, you know, the more plastic reduction opportunities we have in this world, the better for everybody, and that's across the board. In terms of building a startup, you know, guys, there's many ways to do that. The US is a very fertile ground for support of innovation. There's a lot of investment in technology, and not just in the blue space, but tech generally. In terms of, you know, that region, there are more investments made in the US than anywhere else in the world. So if you're developing research there, be it in a university setting, you know, there's lots of very constructive infrastructure there to support innovation technology. And this particular space, certainly what Hatch has seen over the last 7 years since we kicked off, I've seen more and more and more and more interest in this particular, and a lot more interest being focused on this particular sector and the blue economy generally. So, you know, if you're looking to build a business in the carbon space, if you're looking at, you know, building a seaweed related technology, you know, I think you're in a really good space, because certainly the interest is growing. And, you know, if you want to have a successful startup, you need to be in a space or developing a technology that will ultimately have a customer and has a need in the market. And you're going to supply that need, which is the fundamentals of any business. So this is one of the fastest growing sectors in the world, as in aquaculture, and this whole blue space is really developing quickly. So if you do have a smart technology that you're thinking about, you may not be at the stage for this studio, but, you know, please do reach out if you do develop something, and we'd like to, you know, be in touch and help, you know, get that idea hopefully to market at some point in time. And that's part of, you know, why Idemitsu and ourselves share the same, you know, approach to this. We want to kind of nurture and support and find those innovators out there, and, you know, give them the best chance of achieving their full potential. So, and this is really what this program is geared towards. In addition to helping those companies which are already scaling, already perhaps driving revenue, and are really just looking to take it to the next level. So lots of exciting opportunities here. We really encourage you. Maybe I'll just share my screen here once again, in terms of where to apply. If I can, yes, I can.
Yeah. I just want to say about like plastic for seaweed, the question that we got.
Yeah.
I'll say that from our perspective, it's certainly eligible for the application. I think recycling or circular economy is certainly one of the important aspects or important areas that our company is looking at. So I understand there are many startups in this field, but one has some different value proposition from another. So yeah, I am generally personally looking forward to. I think it's better. It's quite important, as Peter highlighted, for startup to or your proposition to quantify these the reduction or removal of the carbon that you might be able to absorb. But apart from that, seaweed, the plastic seaweed is certainly eligible for this application. Thanks.
Thank you, Yamato. We have one more question. Are there resources to help founders measure and quantify their carbon benefit? Peter, thoughts?
Yeah, there are some frameworks for quantifying carbon benefit, definitely. So if you are, let's take bioplastics as an example. There are a few carbon emissions calculations software out there already, and also solutions and teams developing products that can do this type of thing. So we have seen teams working in bioplastics trying to quantify their emissions reduction benefits, and also their basically carbon emissions throughout the process. Is interesting at this stage of the cycle. They're still quite small, these teams, and so the carbon benefits are not necessarily as great as you would expect compared to when they're going to be at scale. So at scale, we're going to see much greater carbon benefits. And so, I mean, one one person that comes to mind already would be the guys down in New Zealand. So Finn Ross, I think, is working on some. He's got a startup that's supporting with quantification for some teams, particularly in the seaweed space. And there are several others too. But yes, good question.
Great, thank you, Peter. I think we're just about on time in terms of our conversation today. I'd like to thank all of those who joined in and had questions for the panel here today. We're very excited to see who we end up with in November, those 10 companies, where they're going to come from, what kind of technologies they're looking to bring to market. As you can see from the screen there, please have a look at hatch.blue, our website, look at Innovation Studios, and you'll see the application process there. There's also an info deck there to reiterate or cover many of the conversations I had with you today about the program in a little bit more detail. Please feel free to reach out to Wayne at hatch.blue if you have any further questions, and please do get your application in soonest. We will be treating applications on a first come, first served basis, and we're hoping before the closing date, which is in August, to start that process of actually selecting and making those decisions around the cohort in November. So on that note, I'd like to thank Sarah all the way in Hawaii for setting this up for us today and doing all the hard work bringing this together. I'd like to thank Idemitsu, and particularly Yamato and his colleague Kay, who have been incredibly supportive in getting this initiative off the ground, and hopefully soon we'll all see it come to life in November. And to my colleague Peter in HIS, the kind of expertise that he and his team and generally our network are going to bring to the selected candidates in November. I'm looking to see how and where that knowledge, support, and counsel can have an impact, and bring these companies to the next level. So I bid you farewell. Please get your application as soon as possible, and I look forward to seeing you all in Singapore. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Cheers, bye.